Lou here. You know, one vocal synthesizer I see a lot of people bringing up is Synthesizer V. It's a pretty recent engine, and since I'm a major fan of vocal synths, why not make a video talking about the ins and outs of this new engine? This is a review of Synth V. Just a warning though, this is a review for Synth V Lite in particular, and if you guys want to know the difference between the professional version and the Lite version, keep on watching to find out. Synthesizer V is a vocal synthesizer program created by Dreamtonics on December 23, 2018. This initial release would include 4 voice banks available for purchase. This would include Eleanor Forte, who sung English, Yamane Rendi, who was previously in UTAU that sang in Japanese, Genbu, who sings in Japanese, and Aiko, who sings in Mandarin. The program would reach high critical acclaim at the time for having high-quality voice banks, easy-to-use layout, and great voice bank selection already despite having such a small pool upon release. It would be thanks to these 4 core voice banks that would boost Synth V enough to warrant updates and more voice banks for sale. This boost in Synth V would largely be due to the failure of Vocaloid 5. Although I had given the program a positive review upon its release, Yamaha pretty much quit updating the engine and making new voice banks that actually utilize the features Vocaloid 5 has. This made many Vocaloid producers and developers seek other, more successful platforms. You had Krypton with the Pia Pro engine, PowerFX quitting vocal synth development altogether, and Tohoku Zanko becoming a scam artist. In the case of Synthesizer V, the program has massive support from Software, who are known for creating Kaiyuki, Yuzuku Yukari, and SFA2 Miki. Software would work with Synth V to make brand new voice banks for the software, including Tsurumaki Maki, a speech synthesizer character that many fans have been begging for a singing voice bank for years, myself included actually. Now, here's the groundbreaking part about Synth V that I feel almost no one mentions. You do not have to purchase Synth V, you can use the Lite version, which is just as high of a quality. I will say that the Lite version doesn't have nearly as many bells and whistles as the professional one, including the voice banks, which are also downgraded a little for the free version. Makes sense, obviously. Wouldn't be financially smart to just hand out $100, $200 voice banks for free when vocal synths are expensive as hell to develop. Especially when current voice banks use AI technology, so that's even more expensive. Despite reviewing the Lite version, trust me that this video will be mass praising Synth V anyway. Just remember that anything I say is probably 10 times better in the professional version, which down below in the description will be Synth V's official website for anyone interested. Now first, let's start with the layout. To me, the most important feature of a vocal synthesizer here is the layout. It wouldn't be very good to have this brilliant vocal synth if the layout was absolute ass, right? Here is where we get praise already. This is semi-easy to understand of a layout. I won't lie that the lack of descriptions for certain buttons when you're hovering them is a bit frustrating, but not nearly as bad as other vocal synths. This isn't like UTAU where all you get is a sticky note on your desk saying fuck you, you know? Once you get the hang of it, I'd say Synth V is equal in understanding to maybe Vocaloid. I also really love that you can have an overlay of the singer you're using. Some may find it annoying, but I actually really love this for my covers, and because it's a million times easier to remember who you're working with on a cover. I also like that all settings are buttons on the sidebar in the corner. To me, that makes the layout of Synth V very minimalistic, which makes for a relaxing space to tune your vocal synths in. It actually reminds me a lot of Vocaloid 4 in that way, as Vocaloid 4 also had a pretty spacious layout. To me, I find a vocal synth with too much going on in the layout to be almost stressful, mostly because it makes the space look cramped and creates a sort of claustrophobia feeling. For those who want to know, here are the button layouts and what they mean. The music note is the settings. This includes things like vibrato, duration, phonetics, and more. I like this already instead of Vocaloid where I have to right-click and open up a separate window if I want to edit the vibrato and fade in and out of a voice bank, or even UTAU where I have to get a whole ass plugin if I want to do that, so it's nice to have a simple button to click in the corner. Next is the microphone. This is overall voice bank settings that include breathiness, gender, tension, and brightness settings. If you're familiar with Vocaloid, this is pretty self-explanatory. The books is a library list of your voice banks. Sometimes I feel like this doesn't work too well because it doesn't always list that I have Rika and Maki, just from my experience anyway. The single book is dictionary. I'm not too sure what this does. I think this is for your language. Again, I'm not sure. This might be a saved list of phonetic combinations, but I'll be experimenting with that off screen, so I'll probably update in the comments section about this. The arrow download button is basically your output audio settings, basically Synth V's version of rendering the SVP file into one you want to use as an audio file. The cloud button is just the licenses you have, I think just a checklist of what you have installed, which is good if you plan to use a lot of Synth V Lite voice banks. And of course your settings, which are self-explanatory. I get what you all are wondering though, how is the voice quality? Honestly, I would say pretty damn good. Honestly equal to that of a later Vocaloid 2 voice bank. Some voice banks do have a bit of engine noise, which is basically a metallic sound that comes from the engine rendering the voice, but once you mix it, you don't really notice the engine noise at all. Though this engine noise is particularly noticeable in English voice banks, specifically I found Eleanor's voice was a bit too metallic for my liking, and Genbu pretty much has the quality of a UTAU from 2007 trying to be another Krypton knockoff, so I wouldn't recommend using Genbu right now. Though Genbu will be receiving a update soon for both the paid and free version of him, so that's good at least. Aside from those two, I found Rika and Maki in particular to sound really good, though I may be biased as both of them have really amazing voice banks already. Anri, Saki, and Aiko also sound really good too though. Bit of a warning if you're planning to purchase Kotonaha, Akane, and Aoi though. It's actually one voice bank, but I think the idea is that they're identical twins, so you could swap the designs you prefer to say which twin is singing, or you can edit the voice bank settings enough where it sounds like twins are singing. Either that, or I heard this voice bank is capable of singing 2 different Japanese dialects, and that's why they went with the twins route. It's a neat idea, but I feel like people don't explain that enough, and I don't want people thinking they were getting scammed of a second voice bank or something, so I just wanted to warn that here. Anyway, as for tuning these voice banks, we have reached the holy part, lads, ladies, and non-binary buddies. You tune directly on the timeline. I said in my Miku NT review that tuning notes directly on the timeline is a fucking blessing, and it really is. Honestly, with all the great improvements Synth V has over Vocaloid 5, it honestly feels like the company listened to every single criticism people had about Vocaloid 5 and said we're just gonna take Yamaha's fandom. I feel like Synth V really revitalized my love for vocal synths, as I had recently gotten a bit frustrated with Vocaloid 5 and how lackluster it really is and almost irritating to work with. Still, I can definitely see why so many companies and producers are moving to Synth V. It's a wonderful program with amazing voice banks and an easy to understand layout even for the newest fans. I also recommend this for UTAU fans who want something a little more modern and easier to work with. I've heard from a few UTAU fans that the program is very frustrating to work with at times, so I say give Synth V Lite a try if you still want to do vocal synth stuff, but you obviously can't afford Vocaloids and professional versions of Synth V. As always though, like I said earlier, links to Synth V's product page will be down below in the description for anyone curious to try the free version or anyone who wants to purchase the official products. With that said, I think that'll be it for this video. What did you think? Do you think Synth V will replace Vocaloid in the future? As always, let me know down below. Hey guys, thanks for watching! If you liked the video, be sure to give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing if you're new. If any of you would like to help support my channel in any possible way, my Ko-fi page is down below in the description, along with all of my social media. For any subscribers, new or old, who'd like to help with video ideas, or maybe just want to talk about anime or something, I have a fan server linked down below. See you next time!